Is Donald Trump marked for death? And did the United States government know about this and did nothing to keep him safe? I want to take a look at that in this video. On January of 2020, then President Donald Trump gave the okay to have Qasem Soleimani terminated. And because of this, the Iranian regime threatened Donald Trump as well as former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and John Bolton.
It was a 2020 U.S. drone strike that killed top Iranian General Qasem Soleimani after the Trump administration claimed the leader of Iran's Revolutionary Guard was plotting to attack U.S. embassies.
By removing Soleimani, we have sent a powerful message to terrorists.
2.5 years later, Iran is allegedly still out for revenge. The U.S. Justice Department says it uncovered a plot by a member of the Revolutionary Guard to murder former U.S. officials. They say the suspect, based in Tehran, attempted to pay $300,000 to people in the U.S. to eliminate former National Security Advisor John Bolton, and $1 million for an unspecified second job. Reports suggest the target was former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
This is an especially appalling example of the government of Iran perpetrating egregious acts of transnational violence.
Iran is a rogue regime.
Bolton was seen as one of the most hawkish members of the Trump White House. As architect of the maximum pressure campaign, he pushed to end the Iran nuclear deal. Pompeo was Secretary of State at the time and insisted Soleimani posed an imminent threat to the U.S.
Qasem Soleimani himself was plotting a broad, large-scale attack against American interests.
Just last month, a U.S. intelligence report warned Iran was still looking to avenge its slain general and could target current or former U.S. officials, up to and including former President Donald Trump.
More troubling comments concerned U.S. officials or former U.S. officials, in particular former President Trump, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and military officials who were in office in January 2020 when Iranian terror master Qasem Soleimani was killed. Now, remember, President Trump ordered that drone strike against Soleimani as he got off a plane in Baghdad, Iraq. He was eliminated. An arch terrorist, probably the most dangerous terrorist in the world, and President Trump ordered his elimination. Iran has been raging for 3 years plus ever since the death of Soleimani. He was really an irreplaceable cog in their terror wheel, and they've been vowing revenge again against the United States ever since. And according to this top Iranian general, that desire for revenge on the part of the Iranian regime has not abated over the past 3 years. We've discussed here in the newscast in the past year or so Iran's attempts to assassinate former Trump administration officials here on U.S. soil. Among those officials, Mike Pompeo, the former Secretary of State, who you've seen here on The Watchmen. This general's comments over the weekend, basically, he didn't go into too much detail, but what he did said was, Allah willing, his words, we will kill Trump, Pompeo, and the military officials who made the call to eliminate Qasem Soleimani. A very explicit threat, folks. Really wrap your heads around this. A very explicit threat to murder U.S. officials by a leading general in the Iranian regime, in the Iranian military. And the response is basically crickets chirping, not only from the Biden administration, who you think they're the current administration, you would think they would fiercely respond to defend former U.S. officials, but nothing. No statement, nothing from the Biden administration, no condemnation from the UN, surprise, surprise. Again, the European Union as well, nothing. Again, folks, open threats by a top Iranian military official to assassinate U.S. officials and nothing. Folks, look, as you review the 20th century, the century of Mao, Stalin, Hitler, Saddam, Pol Pot, if that taught us anything, it's that when evil men tell you they want to kill you, you should believe them and take them at their word.
The United States government is apparently intensifying a manhunt for an Iranian intelligence operative whom the FBI believes has has been plotting to assassinate former Trump administration officials, including one-time Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Now, this is according to reporting by Semaphore, and in an announcement by the FBI's Miami field office last Friday, they issued a public alert seeking information on a man by the name of Majid Dashjani Farahani, who is the suspected member of Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security, and the individual that the Bureau is alleging has been recruiting individuals for operations in the United States to include lethal targeting of current and former USG officials. Now, Semaphore says that it is unclear why this announcement was made in Florida. I'm going to speculate, and let me be clear that I'm speculating, but I think it's a good educated guess that they made this announcement in Florida because that's where Donald Trump is, that's where Mar-a-Lago is. One of the biggest security concerns under the Trump administration was the fact that if you're willing to pay a certain amount of money, you can be a member of Mar-a-Lago and you can be in the same room as the president as he's dining and discussing potentially sensitive information. So that's just my speculation. I'm not entirely sure, but it is notable that this announcement was made in Florida. So I'm going to go ahead and guess that it is likely that this individual that there is a manhunt for is currently in Florida. Now, they also warned that Farahani speaks Spanish and frequently moves between Iran and Venezuela. The U.S. Department of Justice convicted an alleged Iranian operative back in 2011 for allegedly working with Mexican drug cartels to attempt to assassinate Saudi Arabia's former ambassador to Washington while he dined at a Georgetown restaurant.
With the videos that you just seen, 2 was from a year ago and 1 was 4 months ago. So this information has been out there. It's not a secret how they feel about Donald Trump. It's not a secret that they want to eliminate him, and also people within his cabinet. So one of the questions that I would ask is, as a country, as a nation, why do we have unsecure borders? Why are people allowed to come into this country illegally and no one is checking who they are? No one's checking where they're going. No one's checking what their intentions are once they get in this country itself. Knowing that someone, even regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, he was the president of the United States. He still is owed protection. No one should be able to come into this country and threaten to eliminate or pay someone to eliminate the president of the United States without people knowing about it. So part of that protection, and not just protecting him, but also protecting the citizens. That's what the United States government is responsible for, is protecting the citizen. We should always have a secure border, especially when you know that other countries do not like you, the United States, or they might not like certain people because of certain things that was done behind the scene. So the border should be secure. So why do we still have an open border? That's one. 2, knowing that what's going on, and we're dealing with people who have no desire to have peace whatsoever. They want to, because we need to, as United States citizens, as Christians, our eyes need to be wide open and understand that the same people who want to destroy Israel is the same people that wants to destroy the United States. And it's the same people that's actually, fighting in the Sahel states of Africa, who's also want to keep that area disrupted. They're fighting, we're all fighting the same enemy, or we all have the same enemy, so to speak. So instead of us fighting amongst ourselves in this country, Democrat, Republican, I don't like these people, I don't like Jewish people because of this, I don't like black people, I don't like black Americans, I don't like black Africans because this and this and this. Why are we not being united? We cry the United States of America. Why are we not totally united? USA is United States of America. Why is it easy to chant but hard to carry out? Why is it easy to throw your fists up after someone you like get, wounded, but as everyday life, you don't practice that. Why is it that way in this country when we are not the enemies of each other? There are real enemies out there looking to destroy, whether they're doing it from the outside or within. They're looking to destroy this country. So we need to be together within this country. The easiest way to destroy a country, even without doing anything, is to go into a country, to infiltrate the country and tear down their systems. Once the systems once they tear down the system, it will be easy to implement a new system that they're actually running, that they're actually in charge of. Because everyone's going to be too busy looking across the fence at who they don't like, who's not a Republican, who's not a Democrat, who's not American, who they feel shouldn't be here, or who they just don't like just because. So we're allowing this to happen every time you start a fight about something that's insignificant, instead of focus on what's really going on out here in this world. United States isn't an island. The United States is part of what's going on in the whole world. Third question we need to be asking is, how did a 20-year-old Thomas Cook be able to go from his vehicle, go to a building carrying an AR-15 style rifle, climb on top of the building, and actually point that gun in the direction of the president, of the Donald Trump, without anyone going to check on him? And I'm not blaming security, because security details have their assignment and they can't leave their post unless someone is telling them it's okay to leave. And this is what you have to understand. That's why it's a problem, and that's why it's hard for me to believe, or even a lot of other people to believe, that they did not know that man was on top of the roof, and security should have been at a higher level, knowing everything that's going on behind the scenes within this country itself. Because this is what you have to think about. Before Donald Trump ever got to that area where he was speaking at, security went around and checked everything to make sure there was no explosive. They had dogs out there to make sure there's no bomb set, to make sure no one's hiding somewhere where the president is going to be, to secure everything. And then the second thing, they're going to make sure everyone get their assignment. Hey, you're a sharpshooter, so you need to be on the roof, and this is the direction that you need to worry about. You need to go over here. This is what everyone's going to get assignment and details, and they have to stay on their post unless whoever is the head of them tell them to leave for whatever reason. They're going to have to stay on their post. So at some point, someone saw that man on the roof, and when they was made aware of it, the head of security, whoever that is or whoever that was on that site, was supposed to send someone to check it out. Okay, we didn't put a man on the roof. What you mean someone is on the roof over there? We didn't put anyone on that roof. So what we need to do, hey, you go check it out. Because the people because they were saying Secret Service was looking in his direction, they can't do anything. They can't just automatically shoot him, even though he's pointing a rifle. They can't shoot him because they don't know who he is. They don't know if he's friend or foe. So they can't do anything. They can't leave their post to go check and see who he is. But someone on the ground, head of security, was supposed to send someone up there to identify him and say either if he was on their side, to say, hey, we didn't assign you to be here. This is where you need to be, because they need to know who he is. And if, like I said, if he worked for the government, why are you here? We didn't assign you. Or if they go there and see, hey, who are you? You don't work for us. What are you doing up here? So all this could have been avoided if they would have did their jobs. And that's not something that you say, oh, it's uncommon. No, that is common. They made sure if anything is out of place as far as security, and especially if they're being told someone is on this roof with a gun and they know they didn't put anyone there, they were supposed to have went and checked it out. And with Thomas Cook, I'm not saying that he worked for or he was paid by the Iran. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that in the past, ISIS had radicalized young men. When they was fighting ISIS, they would radicalize young American men and have them do certain things, because some of them would actually go over there to Iran to join with them and fight. So this is not uncommon. This is not something that's out of this world. This is something that has happened before. So therefore, wouldn't you be wondering, okay, everyone said that he really didn't talk about politician. He wasn't as lonely as everyone says he was. He wasn't being bullied. To me, he sounded like a person that may have been an introvert. An introvert will sit and eat by themselves and be content with that. An introvert will be on their phones and not socializing and be okay with that. So to me, it sounded more like he was an introvert instead of someone that was being shy or being bullied. So they still don't know what may have been his motive, because he never, according to them, said anything about not liking the Republican or not saying anything. Because some people, they will go for people they see alone. They will talk to them, get to know them, whether it's on the internet or whatever, in person, and they will see, hey, can I turn this person? Can I have this person do what I want to do? Or they can threaten that person, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. And then force them to go, because they might feel like they don't have an opportunity to say no. And so you got to look at, in a situation like this, you got to look at everything. You got to cross your T's and dot your I's to make sure what's going on. And also figure out who's in your country. You know, that's the most important thing. By now, you would think they would say, okay, let's close the borders. Let's track these people down that we have in this country and find out who's actually in this country. But no, we still have an open border. We still have a revolving door where people could just walk in, get whatever they need, and just go wherever in this country, and there's no checks and balances. And I don't understand that. That's what we should be angry about as American citizens. We shouldn't be angry about Republican, Democrat. We should be angry about the safety of our country. Because we all live in this country, regardless of what color you are, regardless of your nationality, your background. We're United States citizens. That is the job of the United States government, is to protect their citizens. They're not doing a good job of that. Because if someone who was 4 years as the president of the United States getting this type of service, you can imagine what type of service we're getting as everyday citizens. So I would like to read to you Ephesians 4:13 through 16 ESV. Until we all attain to the unity of faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to mature men, to the measure of the status of the fullness of Christ, so that we no longer be children, tossed to and fro by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness and deceitful schemes. Rather, speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ, from whom the whole body joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, make the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. As Christians, we're also always supposed to look at the truth. It's God's side and everyone else's side, and we're always supposed to stand on the truth. We allowed this country, we allowed the world to divide us. In this division, when you're focusing on fighting each other for no reason at all, no good reason at all, they're able to do things behind the scene. The Bible is always teaching us to beware of the schemes of the devil. Always be sober-minded, meaning always be watchful, always understanding what's really going on. But when you have so much hate in your heart, you cannot focus on the truth. When you have so much hate in your heart, you're allowing them to win. That's why we can't continue like this as a country. People are able to come in this country and protest and cause chaos, and nothing is done about that. Try going in someone else's country and doing that and see what happens. People do not respect the United States like they used to. At one point in time in this world, there was a code of conduct, regardless of who you was or what your race was. There was a code of conduct. Now that's out the window. People do whatever they want to. I grew up in a time where there was absolutely no internet. When you sat down and watched the news at night, regardless of what channel you turned it on, you got unbiased news. You didn't know how the newsman felt about this politician or that politician. You didn't know how the news reporter felt about that president or that president. They just gave the news. They gave out information. Now we live in a society where you have biased reporters. How can you be a reporter for the news, but you're biased? You're supposed to be providing information. This is what happened. These are the facts, not your personal opinion. If you're doing the news, if you're calling yourself a news reporter, it's one thing if you're saying, hey, I'm doing commentary based on my opinion, but it's another thing to say, hey, I'm a journalist. Journalists used to get respect because they would risk their lives for the truth, regardless of what it was and regardless of where the truth led them to. They would actually risk their lives to get to the truth and bring the truth to the public. That doesn't exist anymore. With the internet, it's hard to go look at the internet and find out what's real, what's not, what's fake news, what's real news, because everybody is just giving their opinion, but they're quote unquote news reporter. They're quote unquote, I went to school for this, I got a degree in this, I'm a reporter, but they're giving their opinion instead of reporting on facts based on the information, regardless of how that make if you're a Democrat, be a Democrat at home. Don't be a Democrat on that news channel. Give out the real information, because that information affects everyone in the country. But no, people would rather push out a lie than to uphold the truth.